Hey guys, how's it going today? Hoping the music isn't too loud. Do this. Oh, there, just keep it kind of low. Okay, so today I wanted to kind of just prattle on about something like this valid point regarding all this stuff. I guess I'm trying to talk about. And what I want to mention, or the concept or idea or whatever that I want to convey, is one pertaining to the whole how does a schizoid communicate emotion? How does one connect interpersonally to other people? What does that look like? What shapes have those taken, whether you know it or not, in the past, in your attempt to connect to others? And the way your cognition and thinking is differing from other people's, and how that translates into attempts at connection. I'm so tired. You know how that be. So, what I've discovered um, via recollection of my own history and discussions with other people and things I've seen other people mention, stuff like that, is that many schizoids like to use external mediums in order to convey connection or attempt connection to other people. Wondering, what does that even mean? So, think back at your own history and tell me, maybe this will relate, maybe it won't. If you're a schizoid, you probably don't have much of a history of trying to express your inner emotions or thoughts, if you even have the language for it or understand what the fuck is going on half the time, externally to another person using language, right? For a variety of reasons, whether you don't have the language or the language doesn't quite live up to what is being internally experienced, detached or not. And so, one of the ways in which we connect to others is using media. Now, today's parlance, we'd be talking more like music videos, movies, video games, things of that nature. In the past, before the internet, probably books, literature, records, songs, cassette tapes, mixtapes, even. Right? It's funny to think about. Poetry. So, have you ever found yourself doing this where you send or you attempt to communicate to someone something via an external piece of media, an external source from yourself? So you get like a song you like because of specific reasons or aspects of it. Maybe a mixture of technical reasons with like narrative reasons and conceptual reasons, right? And you find it aesthetically interesting or pleasing. Right? So then you tell another person, hey, I heard you like this kind of song, or you might like this. This is something I like, and I would like to share it with you. So you share it, and whether you're conscious of this or not, you're sharing something interpersonal about you, sharing an aspect of you that I think is probably more intimate than just telling someone about your day. You're sharing your aesthetics, you're sharing your artistic value system, if you will. 7 Up. So they listen to the song, and something in the back of your mind is hoping that maybe they'll hear what I heard. Maybe they'll see what I saw in this movie. Maybe they'll enjoy what I enjoyed about this piece of art, whatever form it takes. And if the attempt is successful, it actually feels good. feels good to hear them not say anything like, oh, thank you for showing me this, or thank you for sharing this with me. That part is irrelevant. The part that feels good is when you hear them say, ah, I see what's being expressed in here. I see what you're picking up on. I also share the sentiment. Or, I dug just as deep into it as you did, but I disagree with the sentiment. I think it means this. But nonetheless, I can see where you would get your sentiment. They're just different. See, something like that, that's fine, right? That's good. You see them attempt to do something with the information, right, that you provide. And in that attempt, you know, whether the connection is very successful or mildly successful, there's still a connection. It feels good. It doesn't feel like shit compared to other forms of communication that generally fail or cause frustration for schizoid. And this is more anecdotal, but I want to tell it so that you can kind of see what I mean, how it differs and how it causes issues. I was talking to people on the server about this at one point, but I want to share this so everybody can hear it. There'll be situations in which we'll... Oh, great. I'm doing a stream. I gotta sneeze. You can make fun of my sneeze. It's a little wacky. Anyway. Whew. An example is if I'm sitting, like, if I want to show my wife something, right? And my wife is, I mean, comparatively to me, she's a neurotypical person, right? She has like a pretty normal sort of sense of cognition, you know, around here that, you know, people generally relate to in some degree or another. And so when I would say, hey, I want to show you a movie, right? Well, saying that, the action and the attempt at connection via are very different, right? When I say, hey, I want to show you a movie, I'm saying, I want to show you this movie I have seen, and would you like you to see, be there for you to experience, or I would just like for you to experience this movie in a similar capacity that I did, so that you can absorb the information in it and then regurgitate to me how it processed inside your mind on a kind of deeper level. And by doing so, you're undergoing an experience that is similar to my own, perhaps, and I want to see how similar it is. That is an attempt at human connection. I did that kind of shit for years without realizing that's what it was. But, of course, it comes at a cost at times. This within a normative framework, which is, I would sit down with her and I would say, let's watch this movie. She'd watch the movie. And all I want is for us to quietly sit there, watch the movie, maybe occasionally comment on something, a clip or two, but nothing to derail the film itself. Not pause it, not stop it, not start a conversation about something else, blah, blah, blah. Right? It wasn't so much about, oh, we're spending time together, which is important, but it was more about, I'm showing you something because I want to connect to you through an experience, and I hope you share. Meanwhile, in her mind, she's thinking, oh, this is us spending time together. So that's the priority, that's the value. So regardless of whether we actually fully absorb the film, pay attention to it entirely, make the film watching the priority, the absorption of the information being, you know, put upon you via a movie, that's not the priority. The priority is spending time together, physically together, and participating in an activity together. So that's how she expresses connection. It's via those actions, the actual activity itself, not so much the medium that's being used. I do it through the medium, right? And so those things conflict. because oftentimes she'll start talking through the movie, or she'll want to have a conversation unrelated to the movie. She'll want to pause it, or she'll get distracted by something else happening, or she'll. It could be something that I don't consider to be a priority over this attempt at me connecting to you. But like say something, oh, I forgot to do something, or oh yeah, I gotta make this call, or oh yeah, hold on, I have to check my emails. It's work related, or something like that, right? Like those type of interruptions in my head are just like, why is this a priority right now? Something that can wait till after the movie. Why must it be done right now while I'm trying to show you this thing that I want us to just quietly watch? And, if you bring that into question, or you say that, the response generally, or the feeling by a lot of people, is that, well, what's the big deal? It's just a movie. What's the problem? It's just a song. It's just a thing you're showing. It's just a thing we're watching. It's nothing of any um, like major value. And whether she knows it or not, all I'm hearing is, oh, this thing you're trying to use to connect to me, it's not that important. These other things that I prioritize are more important. And that's how it feels. Though, of course, it's not a situation in which anyone's doing anything malevolent, intentional. And in turn, that can make a schizoid resentful of the other person, and maybe that leads to why people ghost others and other types of situations among those. But also, it makes me think, oh, okay, well, you don't want to participate in my form of communication with you and connection. Why should I participate in yours? And so that you remain disconnected and uninterested in the methods of connection that normative peeps usually partake in. Were they more conscientious about your methods, then doing their methods wouldn't be as exhausting, probably, or as self-sacrificing as it occasionally feels. So I think that's something to really keep in mind, is to communicate that, especially if you have a partner or something, that the method in which you connect and the method in which they connect can have overlaps, but they're very different. They're very different on a fundamental level. And I think that's important to navigate, discuss. And I thought maybe that story was kind of something that, had reoccurred and is improving now. That's a reoccurring issue in a lot of friendships between, say, a schizoid person and a normative person. Why sometimes those friendships or whatever, crumble because either the normative person goes, oh, you're more interested in these things and this activity called friendship. And you're going, you're more interested in this activity with an arbitrary label than actual connection via these things I'm trying to show you. So it's this talking over each other type situation. And it's very unfortunate. It's very tragic. It's very tragic. Of course, one fundamental difference as well is that in the case of normative methods of expressing or attempting connection, there's a lot more reciprocation and understanding and acceptance of those methods because, well, that's the majority used method. It's a conventional, available method to most people when, participating in socialization. Our method would be seen as idiosyncratic or eccentric or abnormal. And this is not to say that, neurotypical people don't use this similar method on occasion or in congruency with the methods that are more common socialization wise. But I've discovered that for the cluster A peep, it seems that is like one of the primary methods. That is a very important to satisfy a sense of connection. They get a feeling of almost affection from it. I guess if that's the right word to use for it. I'm not entirely sure. You feel understood. It makes you feel valid because they are seeing the thing that you're seeing. And then you go, oh, okay, you see it too. That's cool. I like that. That makes me feel connected to you. Can't quite explain why or how that functions, but it still works, and then that makes me feel a little less alone. That's good. Does that make sense? Hope it does. Hope it makes any kind of sense, to be honest. I don't think I am half the time. Whatever. So anyway, I would like to hear stories about times in which maybe you've done this, or if you do this. Think back at times in which you might have been doing this and not realized that's what you were doing. Um, Sometimes it's because you want to keep it on the topical, because as soon as it extends beyond that, things tend to fall apart. But even within the realm of the topical, you're still trying to connect to other people. You're just using the topic to do that. You're expressing some interpersonal part of yourself, whether that's the intention or not, by sharing media or hobbies or what have you with other people. And I'm not saying like, somebody just asked for a link on the internet and you'd be like, oh, here's the link. No, I'm not talking about that necessarily. I'm talking more like you DM them directly. Hey, I want you to see this. Check this out. Or in IRL situations where you're like, hey, I'd like to watch this with you. Or I like to see this thing. And I'm a big fan of that. I like showing people things that I think are neat or interesting. And then showing it to them. And then them going, oh, that was this or that. They actually put some thought into it or just absorb some of what was being shown to them. That feels good. That makes me feel like alive a little bit. Like, oh, these ideas in my head are actually like real, and I'm not just some floating head in like my own space, creating nothing but nonsense around me. All right, I think that's it. I probably missed some things, but I just wanted to get that out. Also, if you like the stuff I talk about, if you like the server, get on it. If you don't use it, if you're schizoid and you want to get on the server where you can find other people like this and start getting some little support system going, get on the server. If you're a lurker, that's fine. Just get on there and read the stuff everyone else posts. If you're not a schizoid but you're interested in the subject, join the server. There are channels for those people as well. Or if you're unsure and you want to learn more. Also, if you like that, if you like the channel, if you like the rambles, if you like the streams, whatever aspect of this stuff that I'm doing, support, advocacy, coziness, all that stuff that I'm trying to create for the Zoid, please support me on Patreon. I really appreciate it. And or send me PayPal or Bitcoin or Litecoin, whatever's on the comments or the box or whatever. I appreciate all that. It's very helpful, and it gives me the resources required to be able to keep this kind of going, having a more valid excuse for spending more time doing this instead of other things that, would be considered more productive, quote unquote. Not by my standard, at least. Alright, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Have yourselves whatever kind of fucking day you want to have.